right? And this is mainly because, JFK was looking into their nuclear program that they now weren't supposed to have, and he was supposed to be, dedicating resources into investigating it. All of a sudden, he dies. Now, what people are alleging is that that Trump is covering up the JFK files to hide the fact that Israel has some connections to it. So we'll see what comes of that.
Resign out of principle or not, because that's going to be an important piece to see why this actually happened. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Helps the channel. Follow us on Patreon. Grab some America First, America Only merch. Also, guys, tonight, live 5 p.m. I know everybody is pretty black-pilled.
I'm weak. Shout out to Asher. She says, I used to like him until he became a Candace Owens show. I mean, I don't know, man. You know what, guys? Let's just wait to see what happens with that trial, because Candace Owens might be vindicated on the whole Tyler Robinson thing. Now, the whole going after Erica Kirk, I mean, that's a bit that's left field. But the fact that the bullet that shot Charlie Kirk has been proved to be inconclusive, they weren't able to connect it to the gun that Tyler Robinson was alleged to be using. So they might be vindicated on that. I mean, and the whole Erica Kirk having something to do with it, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a reach, but we'll see.
In politics right now, following the Massey race. So we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to do the 2028 presidential tier list, where we're going to go through and vote on all the potential candidates and see who we think has got the best shot of winning. Should be a fun one. All right, let's jump into the episode. Let's talk about it. Again, this just broke as of minutes ago. Tulsi has put out an official resignation letter. So we're going to take a look at that. And then we're going to take a look at all the underlying pieces to this story that people may have forgot about, but I didn't, because I save all my clips. So let's do it. All right, we'll let my boy Aaron Love break this one, because he's actually the one who sent me this originally for me to find out about this morning.
Breaking everywhere. It looks like Tulsi Gabbard is out as DNI, so she apparently put in her resignation letter today. It's breaking everywhere on X. Soon to be here. You heard it here first.
So yes, official resignation put in, and pretty quick turnaround here. She's going to be out by the end of next month. And immediately my thoughts were, okay, did she go down the road of Joe Kent? Did she actually resign out of principle? I mean, we all know that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I heard about it, I was thinking like, bro, is she calling out the war? But then, I quickly went to X and I read the resignation letter. I'm like, oh, okay, her husband got cancer. She's not really going against the administration. She's like, I'm leaving because of family concerns, even though people within the administration, Loomer, was pretty much demanding that she resign.
Tulsi Gabbard literally ran all of her political campaigns for over a decade, specifically on one single issue, and that was essentially no war with Iran. And then when this war kicked off and she didn't resign, a lot of us who had supported her in the past said, but now that she's resigned, does that show that maybe we were a little too harsh? Well, we'd have to look at her resignation letter to find out why. So let's do that first, and then we'll break all this down. All right, so here we go. As of 30 minutes ago, Tulsi posted, I am deeply grateful for the trust President Trump placed in me for the opportunity to lead for this last year and a half. And she says, unfortunately, I must submit my resignation effective June 30th, 2026. My husband, Abraham, has recently been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. Now, first thing, this is horrible to hear. You never want to hear anything like this about really anybody's loved ones, right? Whether you support this person as a politician or a government official or not. Absolutely terrible to hear. So definitely, hope and pray that her husband makes an absolute full recovery and that he ends up being okay. However, what it also means is that Tulsi did not resign out of principle at all. We would have much rather heard that she could, no longer serve an administration that was fighting an unjust war in Iran, considering, again, she ran her entire political campaigns off that for 15 years straight, much like Joe Kent did. But we found out maybe that's not the case. However, the thing is it does feel like this may be just an off-ramp resignation, and that she was going to be fired anyway, because Donald Trump has been talking to his cabinet about firing her for weeks now. Okay, so this story was actually over a month ago, saying White House asked Gabbard to resign by the midterms. And at the time, rumors were saying Trump has been asking cabinet officials in recent weeks whether he should replace Tulsi Gabbard as the DNI, venting frustration about her leadership and that she shielded Joe Kent, a former deputy who undercut this rationale for war with Iran. Now, something else you might find interesting about this, Donald Trump has actually fired.
AKA, she didn't come out and pretty much condemn Joe Kent for what he said. And Tulsi Gabbard kind of just stayed off to the side. She didn't say anything at all. But while Joe Kent was, and those two worked together, yes. I mean, the head of counterterrorism and the DNI, yes, they work pretty close together. So for her not to come out there and say anything against what he was saying kind of made it seem like, yeah, you're in support with him, but you're just not saying it. And honestly, I think that's why they really wanted her out, because it's like, well, you're not going against the guy that was under you, and he's coming against me pretty hard about this war, and you have yet to say anything. So what, are you in agreement with him? And it kind of sounds like she was. I mean, let's be real, she should be in agreement with him. That's what she's been echoing these past years.
Fired 4 cabinet members now in the last 2.5 months. And what's interesting about all 4? Oh, that's right. The only people he's fired are all women. As we can see.
That's why they call it the bimbo administration, guys. That's why. Because everybody who's been fired are women, sadly. Guys, make sure you like the video, guys. Smash that like button. Let's get out to more people. Appreciate the support.
See. Now, good, bad, or indifferent on that. Just a little bit interesting that he's wiping all the women out of his cabinet and not all the men that are a problem. Like, I don't know, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, Howard Lutnick.
Now, I'm gonna be real with you. Like, Kash Patel should have been out before Kristi Noem, in my personal opinion. Howard Lutnick. Like, the fact that Howard Lutnick have not been kicked out for lying about his relationship with Epstein is amazing. Is absolutely amazing, and it brings kind of more credence to this whole protecting pedophiles title that he got here, or claim that he got. Like, is Trump protecting pedophiles? Well, I'm gonna be real with you. When you got guys like Howard Lutnick who lied about their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not gonna say for sure, but I mean, it's looking more and more likely when you keep guys like that around. And then Kash Patel, I'll be honest with you, he should have been fired for the Epstein files and more.
Nick, they're still fine. But anyway, I digress. Now, some other things to think about with Tulsi before we make our judgments on her on this one. Because again, for those of you who don't know, I used to be a huge Tulsi supporter. I wanted her to run as Donald Trump's VP, and then obviously have been very, very let down with her abandonment of her values that she's portrayed over the last 15 years. We've all seen that, obviously. But maybe she has been doing good things behind the scenes that we don't know about. Now, we have to go back to understand why Donald Trump really, really doesn't like her. It all stems back to almost a year ago in that first Iran conflict. Now, if you guys don't remember, Tulsi actually came out, testified before Congress that the intelligence.
I remember when Tulsi pretty much told Trump to put your pride to the side and get back into the JCPOA to avoid war with Iran. Like, yes, Tulsi Gabbard made a video telling Trump to put your pride to the side, stop crying about Obama and what he does, and get back into that deal, because that deal actually pretty much left us in a good position with Iran.
The intelligence community continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon. Yes, the director of the National Intelligence herself said that.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
Now, keep in mind that, again, that was the director of national intelligence. So America's own intelligence apparatuses had all come to the conclusion that Iran was not attempting to build a nuclear weapon. Okay. So obviously, Donald Trump.
Now, it was crazy that Trump completely went against that assessment. He completely went against the entire intelligence community. And I think this is why the intelligence community now is low-key going against Trump. You notice how the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, head of counterterrorism, all of our intelligence gathering our intelligence community has done nothing but make Trump look like a complete liar since the Iran wars. It kind of seems like they're mad at him because, you listen to the Israelis over us? All right, then we're just going to be releasing all the information that pretty much we've been trying to tell you of why not to go into this war, since you want to listen to the Mossad. And that's what they've been doing. Look at everything of all the stories that's been coming out about how Trump and the administration have been misleading about this war. It's not coming from the New York Times, not coming from CNN. It's coming from our intelligence agencies who's reporting to CNN, who's reporting to the New York Times, the Washington Post. Why? Because the right side of media don't want to hear it.
Was not going to be a fan of her saying that. And this was his response back when this happened.
Oh, yo, and Asher, to answer your question, to be quite honest with you, trust me, I get the whole how could everybody ever vote Democrat again? But you gotta understand, while if Trump is crashing out like this, the independents are going to be the ones voting Democrats. Like people like me and you, we're still going to be looking for our conservative candidates. But while Trump is doing this, not only is it going to cause the Democrats to have a higher voter turnout, but it's also going to get the independents to sway in the Democrats' way. And all the Democrats got to do is play just a little bit more sensible, play like they're sensible Democrats, and then push in their radical agenda. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is not a good idea for Trump to be doing politically, because all the Dems got to do is play the right side of the argument to get back in again.
So you always said that you don't believe Iran should be able to have a nuclear weapon, but how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having one.
There you go. Donald Trump said himself, I don't care what she said. Which, again, pretty wild that you don't care what the director of national intelligence, who has access.
Yeah, that was a defining moment right there. That's when I kind of knew we were going in the wrong direction here. I was like, whoa, dog. You kind of got to listen to 18 different departments of our intelligence community pretty much telling you the same thing, that Iran's not a nuclear threat. It's like, if you're not listening to them, then who the F is you listening to?
They were very close to having one.
There you go. Donald Trump said himself, I don't care what she said. Which, again, pretty wild that you don't care what the director of national intelligence, who has access to all the information and intelligence coming from every intel apparatus in the United States, don't care what she has to say, huh? Well, okay, interesting. Well, we've all seen how that's worked out since.
You know what's so irritating about it? It's just like, we pay taxpayer dollars for these guys, right? So if you're not going to use it, you think we get a tax refund on what we pay to the intelligence community? Since you're not going to use it, I mean, since you're just going to go with what Israel talking about, can we get some money back for what you spent on the CIA, the DIA, just the entire intelligence community as a whole, since you're just not going to listen to them?
Now, apologies up front. You have to listen to this voice. I know it sounds like grating nails on a chalkboard, but it's important to understand what's going on with the administration here.
For Tulsi Gabbard and her office, they basically said that Tulsi Gabbard is running something of a shadow operation from her office. That she is personally, I was told this. I've met Tulsi. I don't know her well. I was told she's personally actually very anti-Semitic, and that she is heavily.
So because she's against war with Iran and she didn't speak out against Joe Kent, she's anti-Semitic. And do you see why, guys, I said that all this looks funny? Because yes, they was echoing all this before Tulsi Gabbard resigned. They were the whole administration was turning against Tulsi Gabbard before she resigned. So her coming out talking about my husband got cancer is like, yo, they're in my prayers, but this is just so suspicious, and this it's just like it lines up just coincidentally in the wrong way. It makes it seem like, well, Tulsi maybe, like, I'm pretty sure her husband has cancer, but oh man, I don't want to sound like such an ass, but I'm just gonna say it. It's like kind of makes it sound like you could have put that to the side and made sure that we didn't get into war with Iran or speak out against President Trump. The director of national intelligence is going to have a pretty strong voice of the American, have a pretty strong voice against the president. If you're talking about, yo, I said this, I said Iran wasn't going towards this, and you went into war anyway. You saying that would have helped out a whole lot, but I see why it's a whole lot easier just to go home, take care of your husband, and be a good wife. Who wants that type of drama when you see what the Trump administration want to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson? I mean, who wants that?
Involved in a lot of the anti-Semitic influencer operations.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sure. So again, now we know Donald Trump really doesn't like Tulsi. That was obviously made clear when she had the audacity to say that about Iran's nuclear program. And he's been thinking about trying to get rid of her for a while based off reports coming out of the White House. But again, this all comes off the heels of the story we did just last week. And I think they're probably very connected. Remember this?
Tulsi Gabbard's office. Agents hauled out dozens of boxes, files on the...
And this happened like maybe like a couple of weeks before she quit? Yeah, CIA raids Tulsi Gabbard, and Tulsi Gabbard is director of national intelligence, so she's over the CIA. So how in God's name did the CIA or director of CIA outrank her to do this? Nobody in the CIA outranks Tulsi Gabbard, but they was able to pull this off.
JFK assassination and MKUltra, the CIA mind control operation, which she was in the process of declassifying. Today's whistleblower said it during his deposition, and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirmed it.
Now, you remember this story? And why did it get interesting? Because, well, Jesse Waters deleted that off of his Twitter. Fox News tried to delete it off everything they had. Anna Paulina Luna walked it back. All of these MAGA shills that came out initially cheering it on immediately went, oh, shit, this story is actually true. We need to run cover on it now. Well, that was just a week ago. And there's been some interesting developments in those JFK files since that story came out, which of course they debunked as having never happened. Well, we've now learned that those files that were supposed to be declassified for us, according to Donald Trump, will no longer be released. Yes, those files that the CIA definitely didn't come and take out of Tulsi's office that she was declassified.
Man, and that's what everybody's trying to call Donald Trump. He's part of the deep state at this point. I mean, guys, look what's happening. Look at everything was going down. War with Iran, the covering up the Epstein files, covering up basically the JFK files as well, and others, and MKUltra. Like, bro, it's the deep state. Trump is now a part of the deep state at this point. We voted for anti-establishment, but guys, we're literally getting establishment, and it's right in our face. And we just need to go ahead and call it out, rip the Band-Aid off, and accept it that Trump is now part of the deep state. Trump is in the grace of the donors. Look what happened to Thomas Massey. You think that shit natural? Putting $38 million into a primary when the average spending is only $500,000? Bro, the MAGA has sold out, and they are now with the donors. They're now pro-war. They are now pro-establishment. MAGA has sold out, sadly. And I know everybody's saying, but said, like, you know, aren't you MAGA and all this good stuff? Like, I wish I could sit there and say that I am, but when I see like the administration doing all this and a lot of MAGA going along with it and a lot of MAGA influencers defending shit that they wouldn't be defending if it was Biden, yeah, I got to bow out because it's too much inconsistency.
Classifying. I'm sure President Trump has a great reason for that. And JD covered it right here.
So do y'all remember when this guy was running for office and he said that they were going to release all of the JFK files and everybody was like, whoa, he was one of the greatest presidents we've ever had.
Asher, hear me out on this one, though. And this is why I always said it's a bad argument to say that. Because remember, he said that in the 80s. Now, when he said that in the 80s, what happened after that? The Iraq and Iran war, constant interventions in the Middle East, that did not work out for us. That's why he came out and was pretty smart to say that, yo, we shouldn't be getting into the Middle East some more, especially war with Iran. And that was a winning argument. While Kamala Harris was dumb enough to say it out loud, to say, oh, yeah, we need to get into it with Iran. Yes, we do. She was saying that out loud during the campaign. That's why she lost a lot of us. I mean, Trump was smart enough to say no war with Iran. But this is where I say MAGA's lost their way. As soon as we get into war with Iran, people are making arguments like yours. And it's like, trust me, I have no problem against the argument. I have no problem with you, sis. You know, I love you. But when you're sitting there bringing up a 1980s interview when Trump said earlier, 2016, 2015, that no war with Iran, Obama would be stupid to get into war with Iran. He does the same thing he called Obama stupid for getting if he would have got into it. And now we're all just in support of it. Like, this does not make sense. It's inconsistent. It's going against what he said. And let's be real. He can't promise a better economy, a better affordability while getting into war with Iran, because that, like, you can't have war and have better cost of living and a better economy. It don't work that way. It didn't work that way under Bush. It didn't work that way in Vietnam. It didn't work that way under the other Gulf wars. Why the hell y'all think it's going to work like that now? And I'm just venting on the point right now. I ain't mad at nobody. I ain't mad at you, Asher. I'm just venting on that argument because I've heard it so many times before, and I'm just like, but how does that ring true to you?
We really want to know what's going on, and the government's been hiding it from us for so long. And now they're saying they're not going to give us all of those files either. Just like
no, you're talking about his argument on when he said he was going to blow them up if they didn't if they were trying to go towards a bomb. Remember, we've always agreed with Trump when he says Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. Now, where I disagree with Trump is when he says that they can enrich, because now you're moving the goalposts. And now you're pretty much saying that, well, F their sovereignty, because they are part of the non-proliferation treaty, aka they have a right to enrich uranium. They do, like it or not. So when we sit there and say they can't enrich, we are basically moving the goalposts to say, yo, F your sovereignty. And they're not going for it. If we was to go back to the JCPOA and say you can enrich, but it's going to be at this level, I'm sure the Iranians would be willing to accept that. Not anymore because of what we done, but back when we were negotiating with them, if we'd have just kept it at that, we'd have been good and, you know, not try to move the goalposts towards missiles and proxies. But no, Chuck, we're all in agreement on that one. The thing is, though, that he was not supposed to get into a war with Iran because of the destruction that it's going to cause on the economy and plus more. I mean, trust me, our economy ain't going to be the only one that's suffering.
The other files they only gave us half of. Just like those other files, why wouldn't they just break bread like Jesus said on this? Like this happened to really.
But yeah, here's the thing, though. And you know, I'm glad we're having this conversation. But here's the thing, Asher. Iran has only struck when they've been struck. Now, October 7th, we got to kind of put that outside of Iran just because Hamas is a proxy of Iran. We can't, let's be real. Iran didn't really know anything about October 7th. That was something that Hamas was committed to on their own. They have their own agenda with the Israelis. We're just going to have to leave it at that. But when it does come to their missile capabilities on the 12-day war against Israel, yeah, that kind of shows that, Mo, if you don't attack a country, then they won't attack you. And that's the problem. You can't attack a country, then start tripping out about their capabilities of attacking you back. That's the problem. Iran has not been an aggressor to nobody, but we've been an aggressor towards Iran, especially Israel. And when and as much as I want to sit there and get mad at their missile capability, they've kind of been vindicated for why they have it. If think about it, we drove in there and bombed them first. And in the 12-day war, Israel struck them first. We vindicated every reason why they needed those ballistic missiles.
Long time ago, everybody who was there at that time is probably long gone. So like, what's the deal? It probably has less to do with like an individual.
Oh, no, that's also a good point, too. And like I said, the reason I'm getting into this, well, I guess slight little conversation with you is because it's important to have. And like the reason why they went over that 3.6% is one, because of 2018, when Donald Trump got out of the JCPOA and the constant acts of aggression. Like, this is my main argument when I said, if we want them to not have a nuclear weapon, it's best we do it the diplomatic way, because every act of aggression pushes them towards a nuke. Like, during the JCPOA, we had them at that 3.67%. Outside of it, when we started putting back on the sanctions, when we made the IRGC a terrorist group, when we killed General Qasem Soleimani, which was actually a good idea, by the way. That was a good idea. I'm not going to take that away from the man, because he was definitely causing havoc and he needed to be taken care of. But it was still an act of aggression nonetheless. And during that act of aggression, they was already going up towards 20%. After that act of aggression, they was at 60% at 2021. And we killed General Soleimani in 2020. By 2021, they're at 60% because of our constant acts of aggression. So what does that tell you? That inside of a deal, they'll work with us. Outside of a deal with constant act of aggression, we're just going to push them towards a nuke.
Individual that was involved than like an organization or maybe even a foreign nation.
And trust me, as much as I would love to be able to get these guys to give it all up, I mean, it's just not plausible at this point. It's not plausible for now.
Have been involved. And that's not just my personal speculation either. That's also according to a former CIA officer who explained that the reason that those files and a bunch of the other files that we only got half of are being blocked from being released to the American people.
So why might the CIA have raided those? So why might have the CIA come in and took those from Tulsi Gabbard? I don't know. Maybe because we know exactly what those remaining files show. And they show that a certain somebody was responsible for the unaliving of JFK, even though we already know that. It's not a secret at this point. But of course, Donald Trump, he'll do anything to cover up for them, won't he?
I don't know. Hold on now. Like, who took out JFK is still debatable. It is still debatable. I mean, it's either Israel, it could have been the Cubans, the mafia, or it could have been a triple team effort. I mean, or quadruple team effort, including Israel. You never know. But a lot of people wanted that man Clinton dead. That's why he's low-key one of the best. I mean, all the villains wanted you dead. Yeah, you were doing God's work at a certain point then. You were definitely doing God's work if they all wanted you dead. But all right, though, let's get back into a little bit more of this Tulsi coverage. Let's see what the left side of media is saying. Let's see how CNN is covering this.
Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard is resigning after about 15 months in the role of the Director of National Intelligence.
Yeah, we want to get straight to the White House and bring in Kevin Liptak with the latest. What are we hearing right now?
Yeah, and this is a significant departure. We do now understand that Tulsi Gabbard has informed President Trump of her decision to resign from the administration. And what she is telling associates is that she is stepping down because her husband is confronting a rare form of cancer. And so that is her rationale for stepping back from this very, very critical role at a very critical moment as the U.S. Remains at war.
I mean, yeah, as we remain at war, and it looks like we're about to get right back into kinetic strikes with Iran. And she just, well, I'm going to go take care of the hubby. Like, respectable, commendable. But God damn it, this timing is crazy. That's some crazy timing there, Tulsi.
With Iran, as President Trump weighs restarting the bombing campaign inside that country, this will be a significant departure for the.
I appreciate that, sis. But just give it like a couple weeks. Give it a couple weeks. We'll be right back at max capacity. And shoot, we might even be better off than before. Maybe we can start getting in like 1,000 viewers on the horizontal live. Shoot, it pays more.
Administration. And so it's Tulsi Gabbard telling the president today that she does plan to resign and that she's stepping aside for this ultimately very personal reason, which is her husband's health. Now, that being said, this has been quite a tumultuous tenure, I think, for Tulsi Gabbard over the course of this second Trump administration. There had been clear points throughout the last year and a half when she did seem to diverge with what the president.
No, that is true. No, that's definitely true. Iran is guilty by association of funding Hamas. I'll give you that one. No, that's true. If we talk about guilty by association, by funding, for sure. But involved in the planning, sadly, that was just something that Hamas decided to do on their own as their own little jihad against Israel. I mean, that's just like, and that's just the fact that matter there. And then here's the thing, though. At that point, yeah, Iran and Israel were both funding Hamas. So this is really why, like, you know, when people complain about Hamas, it kind of kills me because it's like, yeah, you know, Israel was funding them too. They kind of helped. They put some bread towards October 7th. They put like $1 billion towards October 7th along with Iran. So both Israel and Iran put bread in on October 7th, which is crazy to hear, but that's actually the truth. Yes, Israel and Iran both gave Hamas money for their operations.
Was trying to do. You know, she came to this job with a very clear anti-war background. You know, she herself is a veteran. She talked before she was in this job when she was a congresswoman from Hawaii about not starting foreign wars, specifically about not starting wars with Iran. And over the course of this conflict, she really did not have a very visible role whatsoever.
None.
In confronting.
Bro, there was word that she was being kept out of the briefings. Her, Joe Kent, and I'm just like, yeah, no wonder this is a shit show because the two main people who are most knowledgeable on it is left out of the briefings. And people thought that, oh, well, Joe Kent was left out of the briefings. What does he know? No, dumbass. He's supposed to be in the briefings because he was head of counterterrorism. He's supposed to bring his intel into those briefings and he's being left out. Him being left out of the briefings doesn't mean he stopped getting intel.
The Iran threat. She had been essentially cut out of some of those conversations. You know, the president did seem to task her with some different roles. You'll remember she was down in Fulton County, Georgia, when the FBI was raiding a voting office there. It was sort of a strange sight to see the DNI down in Georgia when the FBI was conducting that raid. She also put out a report sort of downplaying the role of election meddling from Russia. Both of those, I think, meant to put her in the president's good graces. But despite all of that, there had been these clear tensions. And so now we're understanding that she is going to be leaving the administration. We do not yet know at this point who may replace her. This is a very, very critical job. You know, it was created in the aftermath of 9/11 to try and coordinate all of the government's intelligence streams. So at a particularly a tense moment.
And Loki, this is what pisses me off, that the fact that nobody listened to the intelligence assessment, and this is the problem with not listening to the IC community or the intelligence community. 18 departments all ran their intelligence on Iran's nuclear capability, and all of them came back saying that, hey, okay, look, man, I know y'all want to bomb these niggas. I know you want to sit there and fearmonger all day about them, but sadly, they're not going towards a weapon. They're not going towards a nuke. They don't even have the capacity to make a nuke, nor are they making the warheads, nor are they pushing towards it. And it does seem like the fatwa that the old Ayatollah set down of not making a nuke because it's a sin against God is still holding. So, yeah, sorry, neocons. Iran's not an imminent threat, nor is it a threat at all right now when it comes to their nuclear capabilities. Yeah, the neocons ain't like that, especially the pro-Israel guys. They did not like that. And it kind of pissed me off when Trump said that, oh, she don't know what she's talking about. And I'm like, bro, it's not even about Tulsi. You're talking about 18 different departments don't know what they're talking about. 18 different intelligence departments don't know what they talking about. Really, bro? And I'm just like I said, I mean, if you're just gonna not listen to them, can we get like a tax refund check for all the money we spend on intelligence? Then, if you're just not gonna use them, that's a lot of money we put into these guys for you just to say fuck what they talking about. I'm sorry, but that's billions of dollars we put into these guys for them to get information just for you to say f what they talking about.
Will be critical to get this job filled, but at least for now, Tulsi Gabbard saying that she will no longer be the director of national intelligence.
Yeah, especially as the United States is at war in the Middle East, it's notable that the director of national intelligence is departing.
I also just want to talk about sort of the policy positioning of where Tulsi Gabbard was in terms of director of national intelligence. We heard at points that debate sort of, I guess not so much debate, a difference in stated position between what we heard from the president at times. Sometimes it was Steve Witkoff in terms.
But all right, though, let's go ahead and see what Fox News is talking about. Now we see what CNN's saying. Let's see how they're spinning it.
On to this breaking news now.
Oh, God, make sure to like that video, guys. Smash that like button if you're on YouTube or Rumble. Appreciate the support, guys. Make sure you guys are smashing that like button. Oh, plug. And bro, I figured out what was going on, bro. And I think I got to tell you too, because I don't want it to happen to your channel. But hold on, let me wait after this video. And then I'm going to go ahead and tell you in closing, because, bro, I don't want it to happen to you. But I'm about to explain why that ish happens with the shadow banning all of a sudden. But all right, let's get into it with Tulsi Gabbard.
On to this breaking news now. Fox News has just learned Tulsi Gabbard is resigning from her post as Director of National Intelligence. All right, let's get right to David Spont. He's got the news for us. David?
Well, Sandra, we are told that Tulsi Gabbard is resigning effective June 30th because of her husband's recent diagnosis of an aggressive form of bone cancer. Our thoughts, of course, are with Ms. Gabbard and her family, Director Gabbard, and her husband, Abraham. She said that Abraham has been her rock since they've been married, and she submitted her resignation letter to the president and two members of the senior staff, announcing that her last day would be June 30th because of this diagnosis of her husband's bone cancer. Unfortunately, this is something that Gabbard says that she cannot continue to manage doing two jobs at that time. So she will continue serving in the role of the Director of National Intelligence, overseeing the CIA, National Security Council, other agencies, but will leave June 30th because of this tragic news of her husband's bone cancer diagnosis. Sandra and John, as she helps him fight that over the coming months.
All right, David, so you're just learning these details now. Have we seen any sort of public statement from the White House on this yet?
I have not seen any public statement.
Like I said, guys, the only reason this looks crazy is just because, you know, you got Laura Loomer out here saying that, oh, Tulsi, you better resign. You had Josh Hammer saying that, oh, Tulsi Gabbard is secretly anti-Semitic for not wanting to go to war into Iran. And then people also saying, oh, she should have been out there calling out Joe Kent. And, you know, all this criticism of her, and now all of a sudden she resigns. So, and I'm like I said, what she's resigning for is admirable, it's commendable. Like I said, go out there and be wifey to your hubby and take care of my mans. So, like, respect. But the way it lines up is just, you know, suspicious.
From the White House yet. We are just reading the story from Brooke Singman, our colleague in Fox Digital. She said that Brooke reports that Gabbard notified President Trump during a meeting in the Oval Office on Friday. Her last day is expected, as I said, that's going to be June 30th. She said, quote, at this time, I must step away from public service to be by his side and fully support him through this battle. So, no, we don't have any immediate reaction from the White House. I suspect that they wanted to let her make this announcement first. Then perhaps we'll get something from President Trump or.
And all right, cool. Well, let's see what these guys are over here saying on the Young Turks. Let's see what they're talking about. You know, they're being pretty chill about it. They're not going off like some of the guys on the right going like, she's actually anti-Semitic. This is a good thing. Good riddance. It's like, okay, bro. Okay. But all right, let's see what they're talking about.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard allegedly got raided and then later didn't get raided. That was according to Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, who made a pretty explosive claim about the CIA raiding the office of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, but she later walked her statement back. So what's going on here? And to be honest with you all, even after walking her statement back, even after the claims of Tulsi Gabbard being raided were denied, I'm still pretty worried about what's going on here. So let me make my case. Let me give you the details. So to understand how this story developed, we need to understand the context, right? So it started with a CIA whistleblower making a pretty explosive claim that the CIA seized several documents that were being reviewed by Tulsi Gabbard's office. Interesting. What kind of documents are we talking about here? Now, I initially thought these documents had to do with the war on Iran, but no, that's not what this is about. So the CIA whistleblower, his name is James Erdman III, who was a former CIA employee and is now the co-founder of the conservative action group Feds for Freedom, said that the CIA had removed documents from ODNI during a congressional hearing regarding the agency's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to show you that video and then we'll discuss.
Oh.
When the digs ceased operations, the CIA also took back 40 boxes of JFK files and MKUltra files being processed for declassification by DNI Gabbard.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Them MKUltra files, yeah, they can't let those get out because it's gonna reveal that it's still being done today at this moment. I mean, look at the past two shooters. I'm be real with you. If them MKUltra files come out, I guarantee you, we're gonna start seeing some real connections to some mass shootings that we didn't make connections before on.
Okay, so documents.
And let's be real. We found out that our government was low-key planning mass shootings and experimenting on people's minds. I think that's a good enough reason for a revolution. I would think that's a good enough reason.
That were being processed for declassification. What is that about? Well, if you all can remember, Trump had said that he was going to be far more transparent. Let's all stop for laughter. But he ordered the release of all remaining documents pertaining to the JFK, RFK, and Milk assassinations. Now, according to Tucker Carlson, we don't have all of the documents that were promised, certainly not when it comes to the JFK files, which I think is interesting. But nonetheless, Trump also called for the documents related to MKUltra, which was the CIA's mind control experiment program, to also be released. And as head of the ODNI, Gabbard was reviewing some of these documents before releasing them to the public, the declassified version. Now, Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna expressed her absolute outrage over this. She was on News Nation where she said the following. Take a look.
You also have some news coming out of the CIA that you'd like to share.
Yeah, so we were actually just notified that the CIA.
Like, I don't know if that was the case. I think they try to bring her up on charges, if anything, because that's highly illegal. But I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. If she was doing that, bro, there'd be charges involved. And they'd be calling her a traitor and all this good stuff. And then, like, what would she need to manipulate those files for? Like, I don't know, maybe like if we were talking about like, I don't know, classified files on Iran, okay, maybe. But we're just talking about MKUltra and COVID. Like, I don't really see much of a incentive for her to do that.
Went in and took documents out of ODNI, multiple boxes pertaining to the JFK files as well as MKUltra. The reason why this is troubling is there was an executive order that the president had directed the full declassification of JFK, but then also to the MKUltra files. The CIA famously has said that, all documents were released and other documents had been destroyed. So these are allegedly those documents that apparently never existed. And so very troubling. I did just talk to Chairman Comer, and we are sending in the next hour or so a preservation of documents request to the CIA. I have calls into the White House, to the director of the CIA himself. And so obviously, as this develops, we'll keep everyone up to date. But strange times we're living in.
Most definitely.
Absolutely strange times we're living in. Now, she also posted the following on social media.
Make sure to like the video, guys. Appreciate the support.
On X. So she says that given the nature of documents in question, we are sending a preservation notice. Docs needed to be returned to ODNI, given that ODNI was given direction and authority by the president to declassify RFK, MLK, and JFK documents regarding MKUltra. These were documents specifically requested by my task force and currently being used for our investigation. And her concerns were echoed by others, namely Jesse Waters on Fox, who posted about it and then later deleted it, which prompted Olivia Colman, the press secretary for the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, commented on a Fox News report about the allegations, writing on X, "This is false. The CIA did not raid the DNI's office." Okay. Whether it was a raid or not, I don't really care. Did the CIA go into her office and take documents? And I want to know why they did that. I want to know why they did that. Whether it's a raid or not, who cares? I mean, a raid, did I ever think that like federal agents like busted down her door and like pointed weapons at her and like, took her document? No, I don't think that happened. But the fact of the matter is that
I kind of wish I was there at the scene to actually see how it went down. But yeah, the fact of the matter is that people that she outranked took something from her. It's like, bro, it's like I said, it's like you being, I don't know, a manager at a store, but somehow the employee is able to demand you